Hi, Noel from Rittenhouse. We're going to show you today how to take your pump off the engine and the gearbox. I've been having a lot of questions on how to split the gearbox. On the gearbox, there's actually 5 bolts. There's 4 that face towards the pump, and then there's one at the bottom that faces towards the engine. A couple of things you'll need is Allen keys, of course, a flat chisel, hammer, some pry bars, and a shock hammer. And of course you're going to need a wrench to pull the plug. What you're going to do first is undo the bottom plug on the gearbox. So you're going to undo the drain plug at the bottom and drain into the proper container and dispose of the oil. But the plug is down here. Now, like I said, there's 4 bolts that face the pump. There's 2 on this side, 2 on the back side. Then there's one right at the bottom that faces the engine. If you miss this one, the gearbox will not come apart. So you take this one out. Then you undo the other 4. Recording? Okay, now you take out the last of the big 4 bolts. Now, fortunately, this one was just put together, so it's not stuck. But if it were stuck and you could not remove the gearbox, what you would do is take a flat chisel and a hammer and hit in between the cracks here to help split it. There is sometimes gasket glue on the gasket, and that'll help break it apart. Then you slide it off. With that separated, move this out of the way, and you notice inside the gearbox, there's a gear in here, 3 bolts. You have to remove these. Now sometimes what happens, they are put in with the impact, so they're a little tight. So if you take your flat chisel again and just put it into the tooth and put it up against the wall of the gearbox, just break them loose, and then you can take all 3 out. And then you take your flat chisel again, because this is probably going to be tight on there. Sometimes it's not. You start pulling this forward. Then you take your chisel and put it in the back. Tap again. Push it up against the sleeve. And you can drop the whole piece off. So that way you can change your pump if you need to put a new one on. You just do everything in reverse to put it back together. Now let's say the pump is good, but your engine's shot. You would leave this all together, because we're trying to get this off the engine. It's been sitting there for a while. It's probably corroded on. Now, on the gearbox, there's 4 small bolts that hold it to the engine. What you'll need to do is find an Allen key to fit. The easiest way to do it is to go to the bottom one, because it's open. Then you notice the shortness on this Allen key compared to a standard Allen key. You will have to cut it down to get in to the top ones in here. If you did not cut it down, you would not get in to take the bolts out. And the bolt drop out. Now we're assuming that this has been sitting on the engine for a while and it's not going to slide right off. What we've got to do is it will twist, but it may not slide off. Turn it to the side. Take a shock hammer. Have your engine bolted down or tightened down to a bench or some kind of device to keep the engine from moving. Then tap on the gearbox without breaking it. You'll find it goes only so far. You take it back up, and if you're lucky, you've got a small space in between. So what you do is you take a pry bar, stick it in one side, and you take a second pry bar and put it on the other side and work them back and forth until you slide the gearbox off. If you're not lucky and it doesn't want to move and it will not come off, the only other way to take this off is to actually break the gearbox. Because there's a retaining ring in here that you cannot get at. If you could get at that retaining ring and take it off, you have another one in the back side behind that seal. So it's still not going to do you any good, so you're just wasting your time. What you do is you take a hammer, vice grips, whatever, bust this all up. You're going to end up replacing the gearbox. Then you have to take, once this is off, you'll have this shaft. You have the shaft on there like that. You'll also have a bearing sitting on about like that. Now there'll be the lock rings will be falling off because they're busted out of the casing of the gearbox. But this is press fit on, so you can do one of two things. You can either try to pull it off or get your pry bar in between the engine and the back half of this drive gear and try to work it off. If that fails, that you can't pull it off that way, you have to take a die grinder, cut through the bearing, roll it over, cut through the other half, and it'll fall apart and drop off. And you'll be left with this alone. You turn your engine until you can see the groove where the key would be that holds the shaft in place. That's where I'd want you to cut it. You start cutting along this area here so that you can split this a little bit. Once you get it cut down and you can see the groove underneath and the key, you would take your flat chisel, drive it into the slit, and then remove that shaft. You end up having to replace that key probably and check for any damage that you might have caused when you're cutting if you cut in the wrong place. So then you get your gearbox and everything goes back on the same way. I would start the engine, take some sandpaper, clean this off until it shines a bit, and then you can replace the gearbox with a new one, and it's just everything in reverse. You can put this back on the pump and put it all together at once, or you can stick this back on, then lift the pump and the other half of the gearbox up. I find it easier if this is all bolted together because it's easier to put these bolts back in. Now when you put it back together, you're going to need a new gasket, which you can order separate, but if you're putting in a new gearbox, it comes with it. So you just push the gearbox back together. Remember to replace the small one that came out from the opposite side. Once you tighten it all back up, bring your engine back into play. Put the new key in, pull it out a little bit so it's sticking out about a 1/4 inch past the shaft. Take a look inside here, you'll see a little cutout where the key goes. You gotta try to line it up. So it locks onto the shaft. And sometimes it's not so easy. Once you get it lined up, slide it on, and then replace all the bolts back in the engine. What you want to do is get one threaded in a bit, so it takes the weight of the pump and the gearbox. You can just relax it. Start the next one up in the cavity. Now the thing is, when you go to put it back together, don't put it up tight. You won't get this bolt back inside. You've got to start off, leave a little bit of a gap, tighten the ones that are in the cavity first, bit at a time, tighten up the last two at the bottom, and then you're good to go. So if there's anything else that you may require to know, give us a call at Rittenhouse, ask for Noel. And when you fill this back up with oil, it's 80-90 weight, and it only takes about 11 ounces to fill the gearbox. It's just a bath. It's not submerged gears. And that's about all I can tell you. The rest is going to be up to you to try to get it off and have fun.